Hi everyone, welcome. Nice to see you all again, face to face. Uh, Today's FOF is a little bit unique. Today I'm going to give you a choice, and since it's the month the latest Matrix movie has been released, I'm going to stay true to that. I'm going to give you the choice that Morpheus gave to Neo in the first Matrix. So the blue pill suggests that you can leave right now, and your life will be the same the way it was before. And if you want to take the red pill, that means you're sitting here and you're going to enjoy the presentation to the extent you can and then not sleep for 3-4 months. So I'll give you 5 seconds to decide. Although Neo got more, but we are tight on time. Nice, that's good. So you've taken the red pill. So thank you so much. Now the ride begins. So in the presentation on the API economy and IT services, we came across this slide which mentioned that one of the most important opportunities for most IT services companies or software companies is going to be in the security domain. So today we'll just take a look at the business of cyber insecurity, where we'll take a look at some of the attack surfaces, the technical term for places where cyber attacks can happen, threat actors. I mean, who are the people out there who are going to attack you or us? The business models in enterprise software and consulting, and even personal software, which we are very well aware of. What is this concept called zero-day exploits? We'll take a look at what is the weakest link in any cybersecurity setup, and also, is there a chance for us to protect ourselves from cybersecurity attacks? So essentially, an attack surface is a potential entry point for any cybersecurity attack to be staged. So there's a nice book which I'll refer to later on. His author is Misha Glenny. The book's name is Dark Market. And he says that in humanity's relentless drive for convenience and economic growth, we have developed a dangerous level of dependency on networked system in a very short space of time. Now, to translate this to English, this is Kevin Kelly from the Wired magazine. He says, when you see the adjective smart applied to things in smart home, smart clothes, smart toys, smartphone, substitute that term with hackable. They always come together. So any system that is plugged to the internet, and we'll see which systems we already know of. So we have systems in the physical domain and the digital domain. In the physical domain, we are very well aware. These are systems we can touch and feel and see. These are machines that operate in our life. It can be a washing machine, a refrigerator, or even if you go to industrial machines like pumping stations, power generating turbines, all sorts of machines which can be plugged to an electronic network or digital network. They are physical systems. Then we have computers and networking tools that are there plugged into the system. And in the digital realm, we have software, which is the most important surface in the system. When you deep dive in the digital system, we also have digital data as well as several types of software. Now let's assume that we are an enterprise and we have several softwares working in different departments across the company as well. There are ERP systems, supply chain management systems, customer relationship management systems, human capital management, product lifecycle management, business intelligence, and several other software systems are running parallelly to make a business run. And each of these softwares provides a digital attack surface for any cyber threat to come across. There's one interesting point, others, at the bottom. And this others is interesting because it can represent any sort of software which is being used. And that also includes the most basic software when you turn on any computer or a phone is your operating system. It can even be a trivial software which you are using to play a game on your mobile device or a home computer. So this others represents any kind of software which is a program which is running on a computer or a mobile phone. And this represents a very sizable attack surface. Is Parimal here today? Okay, Parimal is not here, but during the presentation on industrial automation, Parimal asked a very pertinent question that all these automation tools and systems are coming up online, digital technologies are being implemented. What is the chance that these systems can be hacked? And I gave a very brief answer to him, but let me elaborate. So the short answer is yes, they can be hacked. But if you want a really nice answer, a really interesting answer, I would recommend you to watch this wonderful Michael Mann film. The film was a flop, but it's a very good film. It stars the actor who plays Thor, Chris Hemsworth. So women will definitely enjoy it. So it's an action thriller film based in the cyber security and espionage kind of a scenario, where there is a situation where we actually see why there's an incentive to create a industrial hack. Industrial hack means hacking something which is in the industrial systems or a operational technology, like a pump of a dam, or like a nuclear power plant that can be hacked through some sort of a program. I will come to all these details a little later, so hold on to that. I'm not revealing too much because the movie is really interesting. Right from the first scene, it will captivate you if you're really interested in hack of that nature. The interesting part about that movie also is that there is sophisticated hacking tools that the governments are also using in order to protect themselves and also as a offensive measure against their different targets. And there's also a very nice organized crime aspect which is linked in the movie, which makes the movie even more juicy. So I hope you'll enjoy it. This used to be on Netflix, I think, a few months back. So I don't know where it is gone now, but do look it up online. But this will provide the exact attack scenario in the world of industrial automation or any kind of digital automation that is happening across industrial systems. This is the plausible scenario and which has already happened. So it's not like I'm talking about something new or the director has made up something which is completely science fiction. But this is based on real research. The director spent a lot of time coming up with factual scenarios of how they can show that particular attack being taken place. In data, we are already aware. We have thousands of years of experience of protecting physical data. We have layers upon layers of CCTVs, watchmen, or women in some cases, and also locks. We have invested so much money in safety deposit boxes, whatever. So wherever we have tried to save our physical data, we have good systems in place. But in digital space, we don't have too much defense available yet. And especially when systems can get compromised so easily, and we'll see how, digital data remains to be the very plausible attack surface, and we should be scared of that. So another aspect in the API economy presentation we saw is how a single app in your phone is actually not just one app, but a combination of several APIs which are feeding different streams of inputs and processes to that particular app. So if you want to authenticate yourself to the app as a user, as a legitimate user, then there is some authentication API which is part of the app which is going to let you authenticate. If you want to do some payment transaction in the app, there is a payment gateway or a payment API which is connected to the app, which is going to be called when you try to do that transaction. So these APIs which we discussed are essentially the supply chain of the software industry. And why is it relevant now? And why did I mention that digital data is unprotected? So a recent phenomenon that has happened, it's called a supply chain hack. It's a very interesting hack because it has the ability to be potentially invisible. Now imagine you're a company and you're using one of those fancy three-letter alphabets like ERP, SCM, HCM, whatever, CRM, whichever tools you're using, or even a basic tool like an antivirus software. And that tool essentially has to whitelist some of the traffic on your computer or even some folders on your computer which are going to be used by those apps. The reason they have to whitelist those programs or those folders or those areas or traffic is because they don't want to constantly ping the antivirus or the firewall system saying that this is a erroneous traffic which is going. So you're authorizing pre-approved traffic or pre-approved folders on your computer which are going to be used. So imagine for example, every time your phone, you're trying to use an app and do a payment transaction, and the antivirus says, oh, this app is trying to access the internet, do you want to allow it or not? It's very annoying. So we have created convenience for basically making sure that the app works smoothly. In this case also, enterprises trade convenience, trade some of the inputs that the human beings have to give in between with automating some of these systems by whitelisting these particular traffic and particular apps. Now imagine a software, again, don't imagine, this has already happened, a software basically which is used across several industries. Imagine a supply chain management system which is used across chemical companies, manufacturing plants, all over the place, and that tool gets hacked, and the attacker is able to introduce something within the code of that software which otherwise nobody has the ability to sniff out, but the company who actually made that software. So if that particular software is compromised, it will have the impact across several industries and even government systems and even whoever is using that particular software. And we have seen this happen not just in these complicated softwares, but also in basic technologies like your email servers from Microsoft or even the operating system from Microsoft, which is the most widely used operating system across the world. But what is the purpose of supply chain hack? Why would somebody do that? Of course, the obvious answer is to spy on somebody else. So you have a chance and an entry into some competitor's computer, you will want to sit there and see what is happening on that particular network, what is the competitor doing, what is some person doing. If you want to track a person's activity, you can do that. Second purpose is sabotage. So we have seen that whenever some of these attacks have happened, and the recent attack was, if you remember the headlines on the Colonial Pipeline in the USA, which stranded the entire east coast of gasoline. People were actually filling plastic tanks of petrol because the pumping stations were not pumping gas because the pipeline got shut down because of an attack. Now, this can happen. Somebody would want to sabotage your system by introducing a problem in the network, and your entire business stops for that particular period till you solve it. So that particular attack was a ransomware attack. It's a very nasty kind of attack where they were saying that we will give you access to your network again if you pay a certain amount of money. It's like digital data is being kidnapped by somebody else, or access is being kidnapped by somebody else, and they're asking कि भाई वो काले महा से वो काले टीके के मंदिर के पीछे आओ और वहां पे एक बैग लेके आओ, बैग छोड़ दो. So it's not like that. This time it's more sophisticated, and here essentially till you pay that money, your entire network is disrupted. You cannot do anything with your business. And last but most importantly, which is the most common use case, is to steal somebody else's intellectual property. And that has been done by governments, it's been done by competitors. And these are all examples out in the open. And I'm saying this very casually because I am immune to this problem now. I have not been sleeping for the past 3-4 months till I was preparing for this. Now I'm transferring that burden on you because you guys chose to take the red pill. So SolarWinds is a IT management tool. Now this tool is used by most IT companies to basically manage their entire network of softwares and computers across the world, the employee devices across the world. Now somebody hacked the particular application and introduced a code very ingeniously through an update file. So normally we update softwares regularly. The update file was hacked, and when the update was installed, the particular software, the malware got installed on the customer's computer. Now, who would have thought about this? I mean, which IT company is prepared? Which company's IT team is prepared? Sorry, Vivek, but which company's IT team is prepared to imagine such a scenario where an update of a legitimate program which you have paid license money for is going to get hacked, and that is going to secretly steal data and do whatever. So yeah, somebody thought of that, and somebody also thought the other side. Somebody caught this particular activity and exposed it to the world. Another IT management software by a French company called Kaseya was hacked. A very important software, which is Microsoft Exchange Server, which is an email server by Microsoft, and this is a very recent one. So this happened in January this year, and I think for 3 months this loophole was exploited, and Microsoft officially announced in March of this year that they have encountered this problem, but they have already patched it. So now anybody who has not updated the Exchange server is going to still face the problem. So they urged everyone to install new updates for the Exchange server app. So imagine if you're using a Microsoft email server, you're and not updating the system. Somehow you missed it. This particular news you have missed. You're not going to be aware, and your system is still vulnerable for any other exploit and all these potential purposes of the attackers. And essentially, so this book came out in 2005. I was in college studying BSc IT, and it's completely captivated because it was showing tools of how hackers actually use to get inside systems, and what kind of softwares they use, what kind of techniques they use from a hacking point of view. And his author, Kevin Mitnick, I think he wrote his book from prison. So he is a professional hacker and a security consultant now, which everybody says when they're out of prison. There's no other, nobody will hire you basically. So you are a security consultant. He was convicted for financial data theft. So he basically stole credit card information somewhere in the late 90s. And the interesting part about even Kevin Mitnick's life, there's a nice book which he wrote, which says how he was convicted. So the kind of abuses the Justice Department made to basically create data against him and build a case where data was not sufficiently available, although he was in the wrong, but still they created a much bigger case and gave him a much longer sentence than required, and even curbed some of his digital rights to access computing systems and something like that. Imagine a hacker not being able to access computers because it's a source of his living or livelihood. So the tools and techniques he writes are fairly simple. They are still used, but some of them are now become more sophisticated. Some of them have become more remote. Some of them have become more untraceable. So the book gives you a very good idea. The Art of Intrusion gives you a very good idea as to how hackers really think about getting inside systems and how they solve it like a puzzle. So basically he wrote it like it was solving like a puzzle, but maybe it's a far more complicated problem. So people who don't know computers at all will never understand how did somebody actually imagine that this system will be vulnerable. But actually, you have to do a lot of research, just like a thief will stand outside our house and canvas, when does this person go out? When does this wife go out? Do they have a dog? How many locks do they lock when they leave the house? Do they have a CCTV camera? How many maids do they have? What are their entry exit points? I'm not trying to scare you. This happens. So this is the art of intrusion in the digital world, whereas the art of intrusion in the real world is very well known to us. Hope you're sufficiently scared. Shall I go to the next one? So everything we have in our pockets at our homes, which are electronic gadgets connecting to the internet, is already hacked. So who are these people who are hacking it? So these are called threat actors, and it's also interesting to see their motivations. Then why do they do it? So some of the well-known characters are already here. Cyber criminals who do this because they enjoy a life of crime. It's I don't know why, but they do. The second one is the more interesting one. It is nation states and governments. Somehow it is legitimized that you can use taxpayers' money to have hacking tools, to hire hackers, and to use hacking softwares against other governments in the form of warfare, or even against your own citizens. So this has become legitimized now. So nation states or governments are also willing participants in the threat actor list. There are activists or terrorists, basically people who are ideologues. They want to show that they have a point of view and they want to deface something, they want to stop something from happening, do a denial of service on some particular thing that they don't want to exist in the world. It's like a digital version of a morcha or whatever. They can use that to do it in the real world, in the digital world. And there are people who are trolls. They just want to see something like the Joker in the Dark Knight. Some people just like to watch the world burn. So these are the trolls who would do that. And there are some people who just want to solve the puzzle. They just want to see if they can penetrate a system, they can access a file, something somewhere inside somebody's computer. If they can just break into some software, they're thrill seekers. They will just keep on doing it. The last one is the most notorious after the governments, is that insiders. The hardest person to track within any attack is somebody who has all the access privileges inside a particular company, and they can easily extract data if you're not careful protecting data coming out of your systems. And of course, they can be hired by competitors, or competitors can also use cyber attack techniques to get inside your systems. And we've seen several ways we can do that earlier. Let's take a look at the first one, cyber criminals. So we know that, like Joker says, that if you're good at something, never do it for free. So money is clearly the motivation for some of these players. So financial data theft has been one of the primary sources of making money. Ever since credit cards started coming online, ever since people started transacting online, this has become an easy target where less secure systems are hacked. Website companies who are using credit cards to transact and data is stored on their databases can be hacked. So people have been stealing credit card data for a long time, and we have been eventually trained now to use two-factor authentication, keep changing your passwords again and again. Make sure credit card, if somebody is if you don't if you go to a site which is not secured or doesn't have a security certificate, don't transact over there. And all those things we are now trained to do, I hope. But financial data theft is the first primary, like the lowest hanging fruit in the reasons why cyber criminals actually exist. Second, another notorious one is the identity theft. So, for example, you have transacted somewhere and you have given your personal information, that thing gets hacked, and your personal information is in turn sold to somebody else in the database. That can be used to create a forged identity, and somebody can impersonate you and do a financial transaction or any transaction which is possible without too much documentation. So this can happen a lot. This has been happening for a while, at least in the countries where social security numbers are very important for all financial transactions. So in India, Aadhaar has been one such database which people think is hackable and people can penetrate. A lot of times people forget. So I think the head of the Aadhaar has put on Twitter once that this is my Aadhaar number, do whatever you want, something like that. So the challenge was given. I don't know what happened afterwards because then nobody has spoken anything about it. I hope something good has come out of that, because our Aadhaar photocopies go to everyone for all sorts of KYC, and the Aadhaar number is clearly visible. So I don't know what happens to it. So it's another nightmare scenario for you guys to not sleep over. Again, you won't have a nightmare because you will not sleep. So ransomware, like we said earlier, it's a way to disrupt something and kidnap data, kidnap access from legitimate systems, and ask people, force them to pay you and to give that access back. Now here, since the cryptocurrencies came up, in the ransomwares in the past were not very popular because there was a financial trail that would come up. You will have to give a account in some jurisdiction, a bank account in jurisdiction, where they will not reveal the identity of the owner of the account, and that is a difficult task for somebody who is not a team of hackers. Then once you okay, you still have the account. You open the account in some jurisdiction like that. You go to Cayman Island or somewhere. You open the account. Now you have managed to hack the system. You have a ransomware attack on somebody, and then you give them the account number, and they have to transfer money from a banking channel back to that. Now this is a very traceable, highly traceable financial transaction, and anybody who is really motivated to go against somebody who has taken your money, they might be able to do either through legitimate channels or illegal channels to find out who the person is, and you can get in trouble. You can lose your life. So ransomware in the crypto world was quite interesting. So they would give their private wallets and say that you deposit some cryptocurrency into this, say 100,000 bitcoins into the particular wallet, and I will let your data go. And they will also train you. So they will give you a link how to create your own wallet, how to deposit money from your currency into that wallet, convert to Bitcoin, and then transfer it to us. So they will also train you how to use Bitcoin. So I don't know if many people would have gotten introduced to cryptocurrency by this means, but uh, wherever individual ransomware attacks have happened, this technique used to be used. They will give you a screen. Your data is now with us. Click on this link to learn how to create your cryptocurrency wallet. So ransomware attacks in the crypto world, people thought that they will be anonymous because cryptocurrencies had that decentralized nature, anonymity aspect related to it. But in this case, it will be interesting to see that ransomware should actually now become less popular because people have been able to track crypto transactions also. Blockchains, which are so-called ledgers, which are always on, they can provide a good trail, just like a banking trail, to whoever's wallet it is going to use, and the wallet can be traced to an individual now. So that source of money has now dwindled. So we would probably see less ransomware attacks for money, probably more for status, and probably just show that okay, we can disrupt something, and maybe something else can be demanded instead of money in the form of a ransom. And there are data brokers who have stolen all this data already, and they sell it as a database. So imagine somebody coming to you with a USB drive saying that this has the information, personal financial details of male population in India from age 21 to 40. It's a good database to have for any person if you really want to hack and see which are these gullible people who can be manipulated in that particular list, and can be sold for a fee. So if you go to a website called pond.com, pwned.com or pwnd.com, I forget the site, just Google it. So it basically shows, if you put your email ID, it will show you where your email ID has been hacked, in which databases it is available. And these are databases which are no longer useful for data brokers. So they have basically become public now. But imagine there will be private databases out there where our information still resides, and somebody might come knocking on our door one night when we are not aware. And lastly, and the most interesting, the dramatic bit is organized crime. Just like we have mafia dons, which you've seen in Godfather, there are these organized crime cyber criminals also. And this is where that author Misha Glenny comes in. He's a British journalist who wrote this book called Dark Market. It actually shows you the inside market of how these organized cyber criminals work and how difficult this market is. So in normal competitive scenario, businesses worry about losing market share. Here, people worry about losing their lives. So this is quite dramatic, and I would say the book could have been easily half its size, but the level of detail he goes into in several operations, how the police and FBI and other agencies caught these criminals, how they tried them, how they used it against somebody else to catch somebody else, and the entire network was busted. There were several credit card fraud networks all over the world: Eastern Europe, Russia, America, and even South America. So all these networks were busted, how criminals actually work, how this network actually works, how they communicate. It's a deep network just like we'll have in the real world. And if you are really interested in how good this book is, you should watch the Amazon Prime show written on based on the book called Mac Mafia. So this is the same book written by this person, Misha Glenny, and it was converted into a dramatized series. So it's a fantastic book, but it's about real organized crime, whereas this thing is about the cyber organized crime. So the most worrying aspect about this particular research that I did was the nation state aspect, or governments actually deploying tax dollars or public funds essentially to hack and get into the systems. And the most interesting part, which in the past I used to find very interesting, but now I worry about this, is cyber warfare. So it has become an acceptable tool like a gun would be, or a tank, or a plane, or a fighter plane, or a aircraft carrier would have been in any other scenario. This has become a legitimate tool for cyber warfare. This can also be used to force people to act in a diplomatic manner with you. You can force them to come to the table and negotiate with you as a country if you want to make another country do that. It can also be used to intimidate some countries you don't like, or you have some political rivalry with, or some other rivalry, border tension if you have. You can interfere in the processes of that country also. Again, none of this is imaginative. This has already happened. We are not talking about fictitious scenario. This is already in the news. The fourth one is very obvious. You want to spy on your rival country. So, I mean, we have seen the entire Cold War. I have not seen. I was born during the Cold War, but I have not seen it. People who were older than me would have seen news about the Cold War coming out, and 40, 50 years of Cold War, and now this Cold War is become a hot war in the cyber era. Spying is a legitimate activity most people do. And lastly, I will not reveal the government's name, but you can guess it very easily. There's a government who conscripts or forces hackers to work for the government so that they can hack corporates all over the world to steal the intellectual property, and then that property is given to countries, companies of that country, which are again owned by the government, and they will replicate those products. Now you can imagine which country that is. I don't want to say the name on the recorded presentation for them to come after me, but there's a country out there who does that, and they actually make young people who are not mobile enough to leave that country for better prospects elsewhere. They actually recruit them and force them to work for the government at a stipend which is very low. They could get 10 times that salary working for any software company or a tech company in their country, but they are forced to work. And it's essentially a very disturbing trend that has happened in other countries also after this came out in the open. But data theft is a very legitimate way nation states justify the use of cyber tools. So the other time I mentioned that there's a fictitious movie somebody made about the attack on the industrial system. It's actually based on this actual attack which happened. This is a fantastic documentary called The Perfect Weapon. It's an HBO documentary which talks in great depth about a very new form of warfare. So I'll give you a brief background about this. So after President Obama was elected, there was a program which was ongoing to stop Iran from becoming a nuclear power. Now, there are multiple ways to do that. We have seen that you put soldiers on the ground, you bomb the nuclear facility, you do all sorts of physical things to that location, and you disrupt the nuclear plants of a country. Now, that could have done. So, there was a plant called Natanz plant in Iran, which is in the remote area of Iran, and that was a secret plant. And through the traditional intelligence network, the governments of US, Israel came to know that this is happening over there, that they are trying to actually create nuclear fuel for creating a nuclear bomb. Now, like I said, traditional response would be to attack it. But there were diplomatic considerations to be done. Iran was part of a treaty where they had agreed that they will not do this, and they were doing it anyway. So it is alleged that the US government and the Israeli government created a malware, a small virus, just to give a simplified version of this. They used this tool and somehow were able to insert that virus into the computers of the nuclear facility. Now that facility is not on the internet. You will not be able to look it up. No, IranNuclearFacility.com. It's not there. You actually have to physically be present in the facility to upload that particular virus onto the network of that nuclear facility. It's called an air gap network. You don't have any access to the outside network into that particular compound. So somebody had to penetrate physical security to go inside and insert that malware. Although that is not what happened, perhaps people say that there are more tools available which could do it remotely as well. It blows my mind when I read about it. But this happened. The tool went inside the systems. And the tool had only two jobs to do. One job was like a traditional heist movie. You switch the security camera feeds. Basically, you keep it constant, showing that everything is okay. The security guards and all the monitors will show that everything is all right. But actually, you have control over what is happening. The second thing that they did, just wait for several weeks, several months, do nothing, and then disrupt the speed of the centrifuges, which were actually enriching the nuclear fuel for the bomb. Now, when you do that, technically, I'm not too sound about this, but this is what I saw and read about it, that if you change the speed of the turbines, centrifuges, you actually damage the turbines, and the turbines have to be replaced more often. So the traditional replacement cycle would be 3 to 4 weeks. They were replacing one turbine every 1 to 2 days. The turbines were actually starting to break down. So all the Iranian nuclear scientists, engineers who had built that nuclear facility were confused as to why it is happening. What configuration did we do wrong? What technique we did not follow? Nobody was aware that this attack was going on, but it successfully delayed and eventually stopped the nuclear facility to enrich that nuclear fuel. And for some reason, unknown reason, again, it's very difficult to imagine, the virus which was used in that computer got out on the internet. And some security expert found that virus and went through the code and just saw that it was specifically written for a particular nuclear facility who was using a particular Siemens industrial equipment with Windows operating system with so and so configurations. It was specifically targeted for that particular facility. So it's like a sniper bullet in the digital world designed for one specific target. It hit the target and it forced Iran to come to the table to renegotiate the nuclear deal. It was used as a very, very weird diplomatic tool, but I don't know how many Avengers fans are in the audience. There's a show of hands. Oh, good enough. So, in the first Avengers movie, when Thor warns these people that the Tesseract was in the hands of the humans and they used it to draw energy from it, and it just told all the realms that Earth was prepared for a higher form of war. The moment the US involvement was alleged in this particular thing, it told the world that US is now prepared for a higher form of war. That means using cyber weapons to destroy industrial systems. It's not trivial. Imagine your lights going out, and in fact, in India, we have faced a cyber attack where lights in Mumbai had gone off for a long amount of time. The idea about intimidation and interference in other countries' issues is covered very well in this fantastic book written by uh, Andy Greenberg. He's the tech journalist from Wired. Now, this is a very unique thing. This is nothing to do with disrupting or diplomatic tool, nothing like that. This is a sheer arrogance. A country which is bordering to Ukraine, this winter morning when everybody was getting up, their power went off and people were freezing. Their ATM machines, when they went and put their cards in, money never came out because the banking systems were hacked. So this was a specific intimidation operation. In a way, a lot of people think it was a beta test for a much larger attack, but they thought who better to test than our neighbors, so they tried it on a neighboring country. But this particular, so Sandworm is the group basically who hacked the particular thing. Imagine the Chernobyl facility. I mean, it's a very popular place in history. They turned off the radiation monitoring systems of that facility just because they could. Now, public utilities, hospitals, everything suffered. Banking system, your public transit, metros, everything suffered. There was no power, there was no money, there was nothing. The country came to a standstill just because somebody could do that. And this is a very unique type of warfare. It's not even warfare, it is just bullying somebody because you have better cyber tools. And imagine the motivation now in every young person who is into computer science course in Ukraine, the amount of nationalistic fervor they would have to defend their country and become a cyber defense place. I wouldn't be surprised if Ukraine has more cyber defense companies coming up in the future. Again, already happened. Nothing to imagine here. This is a beautiful two-part documentary on HBO called Agents of Chaos, which shows the disruption process, how you can disrupt a developed nation's democratic electoral process by using cyber tools, and better yet, not doing any attacks, but actually just using social media bots and disinformation campaigns. So this movie shows that you don't need too much sophisticated tools. I mean, you can use the tool like a gun and point at somebody's head, but never fire. But you can keep slapping that person with the other hand, which you have, which is what exactly happened in this case, where the US 2016 elections, in which Donald Trump got elected, were alleged to be uh, managed by disinformation campaigns, and somehow it led to a very wide gap in the way election results would have come in. Now, I don't want to debate about the politics of which candidate was better, but if anybody could do that, and this could be traced, this could be reported, and this could be acknowledged to a specific entity in Russia who were doing this, and already it's happened. So all the trail is available, digital trail is available. So it's quite interesting to see that this is possible. Now, if somebody can do it to America, and because they were ready for the higher form of war, I think I wouldn't be surprised if this kind of attacks will be more frequent on any other country also. Whoever is vulnerable. That brings us to our country, where these headlines and this case is on top of mind whenever it comes on the front page, but then everybody just forgets about it. But it's actually quite interesting. So there is a company called NSO Group in Israel, and their business model is to create spyware as a service. These people, I don't know who are these hackers, where they train themselves, and how they were able to do it, but they have taken the spyware business into an art form. Now, in the past, people would say that you click on something and then a virus can download on your machine, or somebody can send you a infected file and then you get infected. In this case, they have a technology which is a zero-click surveillance tool. The target does not even have to click on anything. The app can be delivered to that person's phone, and mind you, this is not just Android phones but also iPhones. So it can be delivered to your iPhones, your Android phones, or any phone you're using, and it can be used to track your activities, track your messages, any activity on the phone, your microphone, your camera, everything can be used and used against you. So it's a legitimate software business, but the only caveat for this business is they were very sure that they will only sell to governments. They will not sell to private individuals or private companies. And this has been authorized by the Israel's defense ministry. So every time some customer or government comes to them that we want to buy your software, so many licenses we want, so many we want to track, the Israeli government has to give a go ahead. So it does not go into the hands of bad countries or bad regimes. So interestingly, this is a very recent news. Few days back, actually a month back, I won't reveal too much details about this, but it was found that this software called Pegasus was found on some US diplomats' phones. So the US diplomats were hacked, and which naturally pissed off the country, United States of America, and they put this company on the entity list. So the past companies which you know of which are on the entity list are Huawei and ZTE, which were basically alleged that they put spyware chips into their Wi-Fi routers or other networking devices. So they were not allowed. They were sanctioned from selling anything to American companies or the US government. So essentially, they put it on the entity list, so they cannot use any American-made software, American-made microchips, American-made technology in this company if they want to operate this business. Now imagine if you are having your servers, your microprocessors, your chips and everything, your data centers, everything will have at least one American technology in it. Software, like a Windows operating system will be American software. So you're not allowed to use any of that. This company actually went into a crisis. They hired a CEO right before the US put them on a ban, and the CEO quit immediately after the US ban was announced. So it's in the doldrum right now, but it's still interesting to see that people are available who can create these tools, who can penetrate our devices without our knowledge, and it will not reveal itself. There is no antivirus software to track these things. It will just be there, and maybe it's there right now, but I don't suppose we are that important to be hacked by government. But governments do that, and we might trivialize it because it's not happened to us or it's not happened to anybody we know, or maybe it has, but we trivialize it, but at our own cost, at our own peril, because this particular aspect has a very real cost. So these two documentaries, The Dissident and The Kingdom of Silence, talk about the very same topic, the assassination of the Washington Post journalist Jamal Khashoggi. And this person was writing against the Saudi government in his reporting and the channel that he was promoting in the Middle East. Now, this person's phone was hacked with this software. His whereabouts were monitored, and which led to a series of events where he got killed. Now, this has been documented, proven through communication channels, through traditional intelligence channels. And both these documentaries, the one shows about the apparatus that was used to hack the person, to create the situation where that person can be trapped and assassinated. And the other one talks about the political relations of US and the Middle East over the past 50 years, which led to some of these tensions between the countries. Now, on one side, we know that this software was sold in an ethical manner to only governments which the Israel approved of. Then going into the hands of somebody like this, and it leads to a person's dying. And of course, there are so many activists. If you read the news, just Google for Pegasus, and we put on the same list I'm on in the Indian government's database. You read about it, and you will find so many local activists. Their phones were hacked. Whoever was talking against the government, their phones were hacked. Allegedly, we don't know what is the real source of those spyware installed on those people's phone. But this is possible. This has real consequences. Real people can die. Get enough? Okay, that's it. So I will not scare you because other things are okay. We can manage those things. So we talked about activists and terrorists who basically will disrupt something because they have an ideology, difference in ideology with us. There will trolls who want to deface a website or an app or something like that. This has happened several times. People who just want to seek thrills by breaking into systems. It's like some thief who will break into your house and then give you the key. Yeah, sorry, ho gaya mera. So it's like that. He enjoys breaking into the system but doesn't want to steal anything. And insiders and computers is a very, very obvious way of using access to get inside a system and steal data. But this is the, I would say, the illegitimate part of the business of cybersecurity or cyber insecurity. But now let's talk about the legitimate part of the industry. So, of course, where there is a chore, there is a police, a thief, and a cop. Now we look at the cops. There are only two types of companies: those who know they have been compromised, and those that don't know. This is said by the founder of CrowdStrike, one of the largest market value cybersecurity firm, Dmitry Albertovich. This guy uh, basically saying that every company in this world, small business, large business, doesn't matter, revenue doesn't matter, they're hacked. Their systems are compromised. Some people know it and they will take countermeasures. Some people will not know and they will continue to be oblivious. Traditional security in most companies, physical or digital, essentially involves around perimeter security, trying to make sure that somebody who does not have the right to enter the premises or the systems does not get the right to come in. And you will have all sorts of access control tools designed around it: firewalls, password security, identity management. Everything around it will be designed to make sure nothing illegitimate comes inside our guarded systems. That leads to creating softwares for protecting your endpoints, which are your digital devices, computers, mobile devices, networking equipment. All the endpoints which you have in your network are protected via these softwares. There's another software available for the protection of networks. The traffic has to be monitored as to either legitimate traffic is going in or are you getting malicious traffic into your network. And lastly, protecting the servers which are hosting your data, which are hosting the company's database or whatever information you have been storing for a long time, or even cloud servers which you are deploying now because it's become a popular technology to implement. So cloud servers as well. So the entire business revolves around protecting these aspects of your enterprise or even personal devices. So you have personal software, which we are all very familiar with. We grew up with the Norton antivirus and McAfee antivirus, all these antivirus softwares. There are dime a dozen antivirus companies out there who all claim equally that their softwares can stop the best attacks in the world. Maybe some of them can, but we don't know for sure. Even they will not be knowing for sure, but it's a good marketing line to use. We are aware of this business model. We pay a fee, we get a box which had a CD in it. We put the CD inside, install it. After a year, they will send an email to you again, paisa do. If you want more updates, pay us more. Subscription model. So it's another way of hostage negotiation that if you want to be secured, if you are reasonably afraid of protecting your systems, you will pay. I pay. Everybody pays, I hope. On the enterprise side, we have basic, like I said, identity management, making sure that only the right people are getting authenticated and getting the systems. You have endpoint security that no unauthorized device or files are coming in and out of the system. And you have network traffic monitoring where you're making sure traffic is all legitimate, all secured, everything is supposed to be where it is going in and out. Lastly, there's a very interesting aspect to this industry where we saw black hats, which are the bad actors, the threat actors who are hacking into systems. There are also white hats who essentially protect systems. They will identify these problems, they'll identify security holes. They will basically be consultants who you hire and they will tell you that this system is compromised. You can patch this system, upgrade this software, do this, do that to make sure that it is more secure than it is before. Nothing is completely secured, but there is a market out there of these consultants who will provide that information to you. And there are software tools available to test how effective these implementations have been. Penetration testing tools, data testing tools, software testing tools, where they will test how the integrity of your software as well. Because now we have seen supply chain attacks have also increased. So people would want to be aware whether softwares can withstand any attack of any sort. So essentially, this is a very biased list of companies. Because I was interested in tracking them. But if you look up any cybersecurity ETF, there will be probably 40 more companies underneath this list. The reason why I wanted to see these companies is because all of these companies have the same narrative, and the narrative is very interesting. Like the first few slides which you saw, and which I hope has reasonably scared you, that's a narrative basically for these companies. There are bad people out there. We will protect you. That's it. And people are willing to pay a $50 billion market cap for companies who apparently are trading at close to 100 times earnings. Some companies are making losses. And it's interesting to see the many of these companies are cash flow generating businesses, but they're making losses because the business models which are there are traditional enterprise subscription business models, where you have to run a treadmill for getting more and more people to subscribe to your software. So essentially, they are spending 50% of their revenue, close to that, on just marketing and sales, just to make sure the client gets in. Once the client is in, it is their job to make sure the client feels that they are protected and keep on selling them upgrades or subscriptions or different plans to make sure the client stays with them for a long time. So you spend money once on sales and marketing and probably get a client for lifetime. And imagine who will unplug a security system. Like Vivek, would you unplug the firewall in our office willingly? You won't, right? So nobody unplugs the security software or security system if it's in the office. Nobody would want to basically lose their job because they wanted to change the system and affected the security of a company. It's very hard to do that. So all these companies have a very sticky business model. So, for example, if you look at Cloudflare or Zscaler or Okta, the identity management tools they provide are top class tools according to many people in the industry also, and they're used by bigger companies also, bigger software companies as well. If you look at companies like Norton LifeLock, which is popularly known as Symantec in the past, so now it's called Norton LifeLock. Traditional business, a software business which used to sell package software, now sells subscription plans online. I've also mentioned a company, Quick Heal, which is our only representation in the cybersecurity market so far. But essentially, any IT services business will have a cybersecurity consulting or a services component to it. Any large company like Google, Amazon, Microsoft, everybody will have a security division which will provide some security tools to their cloud business or their existing softwares. So this is not a very comprehensive list. If you just look at standalone security companies, cybersecurity companies, I wouldn't say the market will be more than $100 billion run rate per year. But if you include all the other things, the services part, the enterprise software, and the bigger companies providing tools and consulting, then I think it's a $200 billion market. It's a large market to begin with. But interesting again, not interesting, but just curious to see that too many companies which are listed in this space are from the US. But there are several good unlisted companies also, which probably will never be listed because they work with governments and data, providing data about their company's operations will be a strict no-no. They'll never be listed. But they are from Israel, they are from the Eastern European bloc, they are from Russia. So it's a quite amazing companies. Even in India, there are several very specific cloud security companies or data security companies who keep on throwing reports. So if you just Google for vulnerabilities in Indian systems, you'll find these reports online where people have reported these vulnerabilities to the authorities, to the companies in India, and yet nobody acted and they were forced to publish them. It's an interesting business, not too profitable yet, but cash generating, and some companies are growing at a breakneck speed. So it's impossible to even imagine you can understand the business, and the business may change completely in the next 3 to 4 years because some new threat has come in and something else is being sold at that time. Traditional companies like Akamai, who have a, content uh, content delivery network business, CDN business within them. So essentially, OTT players will use Akamai to make sure that you get to access your content whenever you hit play on the OTT website or OTT app. And they also have a security business tagged with it, which provides a lot of network security. Or Splunk, which is the IT management tool, has a lot of security embedded components which they sell separately or as a subscription plan. So interesting business models. So if you want to study this industry, I think these companies will give you a good cross section of what is happening in the world. But the question always remains, why pay for something like this? I mean, these plans are expensive. They are going to be with you for a lifetime. The company's CEO, promoter, everything will change, but the software will still be used in the company. So essentially, most companies have a very small IT team. They don't have the right talent sometimes. They don't know what to hire. What are they looking at? They have no idea sometimes to see whether this threat is real, that threat is real. Don't have the revenue also to hire some kind of talent. So this cannot be done in a do-it-yourself manner. You can do to some extent, you can build a network from scratch to some extent. But if you are expanding, if you are growing into different geographies, it will be hard for you to do it yourself every time. You'll always need consultants and software tools which are available outside. Data protection and user privacy has become one of the most important challenges in our lifetime right now because of all the threat actors out there and the kind of tools and the money they have to attack all these systems. So imagine there is no chance for an enterprise to fight in a legitimate manner unless they hire a counter hacking team and stop the attack somewhere, which also happens. Most interestingly, the requirements which are there for installing all these security softwares from regulators. So banking regulators will have their own requirements, SEBI will have their own requirements, RBI will have their own requirements, insurance will have. All these regulators will have different requirements for designing good quality cyber systems to make sure database integrity, user data is intact, privacy is protected. Some basic hygiene checks can be definitely done through regulations. In some developed countries, these regulations have now gone to a sophisticated level where you have to hire specific regulatory slash cybersecurity staff to basically manage all these systems. If you're running a healthcare business, it's a nightmare for some companies in the US. Also, to make sure that transactions are happening properly on your devices, in your network, within your app, and all those things will be monitored regularly to make sure that something fraudulent doesn't come in. So, what if somebody inserts a fraudulent transaction in the legitimate transaction stream and you lose money, your clients lose money? All these things can happen. To protect that, the applications are also made strong by using transactional security testing tools. Also, because of this, people might have this fear that the apps and the services become slow, you're unable to access systems quickly. But nowadays, all these cloud tools are available and everything is as fast as your internet broadband connection. So essentially, despite all these things, you can manage latency and availability, and people want to pay for that. So if somebody puts up a system on their own, they might compromise on the latency and availability of system because they don't know how to configure it properly. But these consultants and software tools available will teach you how to run your tools with high latency and high availability as well. And lastly, we may use as enterprises 10 softwares, 20 softwares, 30 softwares, or 100 softwares, depending on the size of the company. And we may not know that each software company can talk to each other for all sorts of reasons. But there is this one system integrating company in between. From security point of view, talks to all these vendors and make sure that all these security vulnerabilities are patched for you as a client. And they will do it for all clients. So once they spot something, they will tell all the vendors that this is something we observed. Why don't you patch it? They will send an update to all the clients, and everybody's protected. So this integration with vendors is a very interesting concept, which previously was reserved to the IT services businesses who were system integrators and who would issue recommendations, and something might come up in the software in the next update or next upgrade. But now this happens on a real time basis because most of these large software companies have realized, due to supply chain hacks possibility, that there are governments who are going to act against you, who are trying to get in systems. So it's better you stay on top of things and beef up your security systems as well. If you're really curious about this particular aspect, you should read the Aurora hack, which Google published, where one government actually entered Google's networks and started checking out information and deleting stuff and modifying stuff. It was quite interesting. Company like Google, who has the best security team, I would assume, they had to hire one of the companies from this list, Mandiant, to identify who these people were, how this hack happened, how to stop it, how to block all these problematic codes. Essentially, every software is a lines of code. Somebody or a bunch of people came together and said, okay, I will write this, I will write the user interface, I will write the database, I will write the networking part, I will write the user authentication part. So all these things were written by different people and put into a single software which was made to work as an app or a tool. Now, of course, when 10 people work, somebody will be a little lax. And these programmers will be people who want to create the app and launch a product. They are not very security savvy. They will not know exactly what security threats can happen. And of course, vulnerabilities will exist. The product is out there, but it will have all sorts of holes that people can enter into it. So integrations really matter where the security companies will talk to all these vendors and they will spot details and all clients benefit. That is the theory. This is a very interesting on Zscaler's website. They have this global threat insights which updates every day. So this is just a visual idea of how many threats are actually live right now in the past one day, and where are they originating, where are they terminating, which is a target. So I just filtered for India, and this is right now coming from all over the world. India is being targeted by cyber attacks. It's a cool marketing tool. I don't know how accurate this is, but I like the visual representation. It scared me earlier. Oh, this is so many pins coming into India, but I was already scared enough, so it didn't bother me too much. It's an interesting marketing tool if you want to go on Zscaler. It's cool to watch. It updates real time, so you can see what kind of attacks are actually going on. Essentially, selling this software is with the FUD methodology. You inject fear, uncertainty, and doubt in your client's mind. They'll eventually have to buy something from you. So there's no chance that you can escape the need for a cybersecurity software. Especially after this, definitely not. And there is a reason to be afraid. So earlier I mentioned how the US government could enter into the nuclear power plant without detection, without any boots on the ground, no soldiers, no helicopters, no SWAT teams, no that Hollywood style attacks happened over there. Just software was inserted into a nuclear facility. And this is possible because of a concept called a zero-day exploits. Now, for non-technical people, let us simplify it. So, in any software, when there is a vulnerability identified by somebody, which only that person knows, and nobody else in the world knows, it's called a zero-day vulnerability. And when that vulnerability used to stage an attack, it becomes an exploit. So, essentially, only that person who has found it, and there's a chance that somebody else also knows about it, but that person may not use it to attack. That person may use it to report to the software vendor, ki boss, this is a problem in your software, please fix it. But there are other people who don't want to do that. They will hide the data from the software vendor. They will make sure that they will use this vulnerability to exploit it, insert themselves in the system, and do something which other criminals do generally. So this is a threat that nobody knows about except the person who discovered it. The zero-day exploit. The documentary on Stuxnet we saw earlier, The Perfect Weapon, there is an extension to that. This is an earlier documentary about the same aspect, but this is a far better documentary because it shows how they executed it or allegedly executed it. And since then, a lot of information has already come out in the open, so that the perfect weapon has a more granular idea of the diplomacy and the policy aspect of it. But this documentary talks about the technical aspect of it. How can you penetrate a system? How can you insert the malware? How can you use a zero-day exploit? So in this case, Windows operating system, which was used in the nuclear facility, had apparently 6 zero-day vulnerabilities, which only maybe the US government knew. Uh, People who hacked that particular system, they knew, and they did not tell anyone about it. Not even the company Microsoft, who could have fixed or given an update and fixed the particular system. And they used this vulnerability to enter the system, stay in the system, and do whatever I mentioned earlier with the nuclear centrifuges. So basically, popular softwares will always have, like I said, some sort of gaps in them, and they will always have vulnerabilities. But there will be security teams within the software companies who will try to find them periodically by reviewing the code, making sure everything is in order, and then dispatching updates accordingly. So whenever you get those annoying update notifications on your Windows computer and tells you to restart your system every time, we always do snooze so that okay, बाद में करते हैं, and you keep snoozing for 3 4 months. Sometimes it becomes a year of snoozing, and probably you have 4 5 GB worth of updates pending. Probably they're telling you, ki, bhai, please patch your system because we have identified something which is wrong with your operating system and is a threat to you. So please patch it so that you're protected from the attacks they know of. So again, once you put this out there, once the US put this out there, the US also immediately got retaliation from all sorts of governments who were against the America for all sorts of reasons. And they started attacking their systems, exploiting the same zero-day exploits which they had failed to reveal, and attacking systems in the US, or at least being present. The US government knew that somebody was snooping around in their networks, public infrastructure, all sorts of systems, companies, and in some cases doing malicious things, stealing data, stopping systems from working, and in some cases just lying there, just observing how the system was designed, studying everything. So imagine the cost of not telling the world there's a problem in a widely used system and using it for your personal gain as a nation state. So this documentary will, if nothing else has scared you, this will definitely scare you. And this will do, you will not sleep only. You will not sleep. I'm guaranteeing this to you. You will not be able to keep the book down and you will not be able to sleep because the possibility is like that actual red pill. Once you read this book, there's no going back from it. You will not look at your iPhone in the same way you looked at it before you read the book. Nicole Pelrod is a New York Times journalist, and she talks about this zero days market in great depth. How this market exists. So there used to be a legitimate logic where people used to find these vulnerabilities and report to companies, and then tell them that okay, company Microsoft, this is a problem we found out, and Microsoft would dismiss them. So we did not like that you opened our code and you snooped into our code, so we will not listen to you. But secretly, they would know that this is a problem. They would also investigate it and fix it. In the past, there was a hostile relationship between software manufacturers and these hackers who were hacking the systems and telling the companies. Clearly, there was no incentive. I mean, like I said, if you're good at something, never do it for free. So if you're good at penetrating these softwares, testing them, and finding these vulnerabilities, there are some people in the world who will report genuinely out of goodwill, and some people, there is a large portion of people who would say, I don't care, I just want to sell it to somebody else who wants to buy it, and I will make a lot of money. Things that used to sell. So vulnerabilities, zero-day exploits in Microsoft Windows, zero-day exploits in iPhones, zero-day exploits in Android phones, used to sell for thousands of dollars over a period of time. Over the past 7 to 8 years, the market has become into millions of dollars per exploit. There's a reason for that. So all these software companies have figured out, hardware companies have figured out that somebody is going to test and penetrate their systems. So they beefed up their security teams. They beefed up their security focus. They beefed up their focus on launching only secure products, right from hardware to software. But there are also examples over here when you will be amazed to see that people are embedding hardware hacking devices into traditional devices like your routers and your modems which are in everybody's house. Now we are exposed completely. But the zero days market is a very interesting market where it shows the involvement of government, it shows the involvement of private citizens, private entities, hacking groups, or basically trading this from data brokers or like in the real world, you would have an arms dealer. There are zero-day dealers who are selling data and representing hackers to customers. Essentially, when we saw the Stuxnet attack, which was the attack US did on the Iran nuclear power plant, there was a unwitting exposure of the world in a way that anybody with a basic 30,000 rupee laptop with a Windows operating system with an internet connection can essentially hack into a system if they know what they're doing. So the cost of warfare dropped suddenly to the cost of laptop and the internet connection. Where in the past, in physical warfare, you had to have an army, you have to have reserves, you have to train them, keep them motivated, you have to have weapon systems, you have to have decades of research and R&D to create better and better weapons. You sell some of the weapons to your allies so they protect you, you protect them. It was a huge ecosystem of arms deals. Billions of dollars were spent. Now somebody with a small laptop and web connection can actually hack you with the same tools which you have been stockpiling as cyber weapons in the past. Essentially, governments are playing the role of cyber defense and cyber offense at the same time. This is a fantastic book and it's ominously titled. I don't know why she wrote it because it took me a long time to come to this book because this book doesn't come up in any Google search. It's a very common sentence. This is how they tell me the world ends. Who knows what this book is about? But the moment you open the first page, you realize, oh, it's already ended. It's already over. Fantastic book. It's a must read. I think if nothing else, it will give you a good idea of how the enterprise market also has evolved, how some large software companies, which we know of, popular companies we use every day, they have also evolved their security practices. And it's very important to understand. So this is a meme regarding the log4j. So I'm going too much technical right now just to give you a flavor of how critical it is. So log4j is a open source tool. I'll tell you what open source a little bit later. So log4j is an open source tool which is not made by a big software company. It's a logging utility which is used by all applications across servers, across products, across softwares. The logging utility has one job to log the activity of a particular software that is happening. Now, this meme says that log4j is the only library you use that's been trivially vulnerable for about a decade. Now, for a decade, now people realize going back in time, nobody has updated the code for this log4j utility, which is an open source tool. An open source tool in the 90s was a very famous concept. It's still a famous and an important concept where people said software should be free. And there'll be a community of software developers coming together and writing a common system or a common code. So if you are using VLC media player on your computers, it's an open source project. Somebody came together and made that software so you can download for free and watch movies on your computer. The software we are using right now to stream and record everything, which is open broadcast software, is an open source software used for recording. Otherwise, you have to pay lakhs of rupees to have equipment to stream and record everything in the manner we do. So Log4j is an open source tool which is freely available. Anybody can use it, and for a decade or so, it has been available, and everybody has used it. And now somebody reported that to Chinese security team reported that this vulnerability is there, and the person who was responsible to maintain this software read that vulnerability and patched the software. A person, not a team, not a company. The one person who was responsible for a important utility which everybody uses. And many software developers don't even know they're using it because it's part of the automated software development process. It will just come in that package of software. So imagine every software is using this particular tool. Everybody is accessing this open source utility, but nobody knows that it was hacked or it was vulnerable for such a long time. Now we saw that people stockpiled these vulnerabilities. They will not reveal to the world, but somebody in this case revealed to the world, and they got flagged for it. Basically, Homer Simpson, in his wisdom, tells Bart that we know of so far. There are so many other software utilities and open source tools right now being used. Unwittingly, we are unaware whether they are also vulnerable or not until somebody finds out that it is vulnerable and it was used for an attack. And interestingly, whenever a vulnerability is announced or a patch is introduced for a system, that's the time when the highest number of attacks actually happen, because not everybody is proactive. Some people who are extremely active from cybersecurity point of view will immediately update their systems and patch everything. But the bulk of the people, like 90% plus people, will not bother to patch something immediately, and they will remain vulnerable for a much longer time. With the Microsoft Exchange server hack, it took 3 months for Microsoft to acknowledge that they patched the system and there was a bug. Meanwhile, there would have been so many attacks, so many email IDs, login credentials have been compromised. We have no idea of. So people, when they design software, they had this Silicon Valley mentality, this mantra they used to say that you move fast and break things. Now it is being contested with move slow and fix things. Make sure the software is more secure, more reliable, and will not have too many vulnerabilities or create entry points for, most importantly, nation states, and secondly, for other competitors or other people who want to harm your users. But in this whole thing, we haven't talked about the weakest link. So the chain is only as strong as the weakest link. That is us. So Kevin Mitnick wrote this book before the other book. The Art of Deception was written before The Art of Intrusion. Again, wrote in his prison cell. And this book is about a concept called social engineering. You don't require a single computer, you don't require a single software written or code written to hack something. Just talk to somebody in a way that they will reveal everything to you that you want to know, which is meaningful to you because you know how the system works, and you will use it to enter a system. So essentially, you go and talk to a security guard at the building and chat with him. अरे ये क्या है, ये बिल्डिंग में कौन आता है, कौन जाता है, कैसे होता है, कैसे होता है. Let that person talk. That person will give you enough feedback about the target you are actually going to attack, and eventually you will know what is the right time to enter the building and stage your physical attack. Now this can be done in the digital world also, where somebody might unwittingly give you the OTP for a transaction, or a PIN to your bank account, or a password to their account. So information can be found from several ways, and you build your database of information and you stage the attack. No tools required. Just talk to people, and talking to people is the most difficult to stop. I mean, COVID or not, we are still talking to everyone, and they're still revealing everything. And essentially, this is the highest success rate of attack in the world. No matter what cybersecurity antivirus you're installing, we don't have an antivirus for our brain. It will allow us to stop talking when somebody is asking us very personal questions. So imagine somebody calls you on your phone and says, "Sir, I want to renew your insurance policy. You will get an OTP. Please tell me the OTP." And you have no idea what they're saying. Suddenly, in the middle of work, and they will ask you for an OTP. Yeah, yeah, tell me. Then some OTP will come, and you will tell them, yeah, this is the OTP. And then you will get a message that amount debited from your account. Then you think, yeah, it's insurance amount. Okay. Then you realize later on, oh, this is something else. I never authorized this. I don't know what this money is for. What is this? Some person which have sent this money to. I have no idea who this receiver is or a payee is. And you're basically unwittingly given your money away. And you won't believe this is a very common form of attack. This sounds ridiculous when I tell you, but there is a whole Netflix series about it called Jamtara. If you've seen this, you will see how phishing attacks actually work, how they staged that network of creating phishing attacks. It was a small unorganized business, which was then becoming unorganized crime, kind of a syndicate when a local politician gets involved. It's hilarious. It's a dark comedy interpretation of how people can be fooled to give their financial information. And they are calling people in cities, and this is a small town somewhere, and they stage the attack by just talking to people, getting their personal information. So we are the weakest link in the entire system. So Vivek, you should tell everyone to update their passwords regularly, and don't never trust these people. So right now in security industry, there's a concept called zero trust. Basically, assume everybody is out there to get you, like this presentation has essentially told you, and they actually are out there to get you. Insiders, outside doesn't matter. So you have zero trust. You have multi-factor authentication. Don't trust any traffic. You block transactions, make people's life inconvenient, make them log in 10 times to a system. Essentially, protect yourself from any cyber attack or some cyber attack. So, do we stand a chance now that we have seen everything? This is the last slide. Do we really stand a chance? Well, so every hacker, like a cyber criminal, is working for money, right? It's return on capital, return on invested time. So they have a ROI metric. How difficult is it to enter a system and steal data or steal money? They will work on that. So if it's very easy, they will do it and they will take the money away. So we have to basically work sure that the ROI is very low. They don't want to, like we investors don't invest in low ROE, low ROC companies. They also don't invest in low ROC targets. They want high ROC targets. They want juicy targets. So essentially, you have to make it harder for the hacker to attack us. Number one, don't use pirated software. Buy everything legitimately. It will pinch your wallet, but buy everything which is legitimate. Do not download something from some website which claims a discount code for some software, whatever. No, go to the primary source, download from there only, or the app store if you want to. Update software regularly because you don't know what vulnerabilities they have patched. They will just mention four security vulnerable. So four security threats have been addressed in this patch. But you don't know what. So better update it. It will use your bandwidth for a bit, but use it. Let it use the bandwidth. Any unwanted softwares you have on your phone, anything else which is not used for a while, remove them. They may not be updated. They may still have the vulnerabilities. They're still tracking you. Remove them. Try and use complex passwords. Some people use songs. Some people use songs and numbers. Some people use lots of codes and combinations and different techniques to remember. So use complex passwords, long passwords, and change them frequently. It is tedious. It makes your life hell because you don't remember what password at the right moment and you have to go back to some system that you have made. But it will protect you for a while. And use different passwords for everything else. So if you have an HDFC account and a Kotak Bank account, use different passwords for them. Don't have the same password for both these systems. And please update multi-factor authentication. It is the easiest thing to do because you have your phone, you have your email, everything is with you, and you'll get different OTPs on different devices. So two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, wherever possible, activate it. They can double check every link you click on. Although now we have seen that it is not required to click on links, but some software still do that way. They make them click on something and something very attractive might come to you, oh, discount offer, and you click on it and you realize the message was some random site had sent a message. You don't even know who had sent a message to you. Don't click on anything unless you know for sure what that link is. Don't give personal information, PIN, OTP over the phone or on text messages. Double check app permissions. This is, I cannot stress this. Some of the apps, because they want to operate, they will randomly ask you, they want to access your microphone, camera, location, everything. But periodically review this. That does this app really require all these permissions? Why do they require? Why does a food delivery app require me to activate my microphone every time? I can use it only when the app is activated. But normally nobody shuts down the app. The apps are always active in the background. The background activity permissions also should be disabled for all the apps. This will irritate you because it will take more time for the app to load every time, but it will protect you because if they are taking data, even without their knowledge, you will not be a customer to that particular threat. And lastly, you pray. You pray that you are not that important that somebody will want to hack you. Thank you. Happy to take questions. So audience on Zoom, we will take your. Hi, Shail. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Hi. This is Shell. So, thank you for a very interesting presentation. Uh, Quite scary too. So, I have a very specific question which may affect all of us. Particularly nowadays, all our investments are electronic, right?
Yeah.
So, the shares are held in demat account, or shares are held with the CAMS. Our basically account activity is held by CAMS, one company. Our shares are held in demat account by two companies. So if you have significant investment in these financial assets, which are basically everything is recorded in demat form, so what is the risk we are facing in terms of somebody hacking? So there are two types of risk. One is if somebody deliberately hacks and uh, you know destroys the accounts, or if it happens due to some natural calamity. you know so how do we take care of those risks?
So I think there are advantages and disadvantages of centralization of financial data. The advantage is that we trust the centralized entity to have enough cybersecurity staff or practices or even regulatory compulsions to protect data of users, basically to maintain enough backup of the systems, and they will keep on testing that ability to back up and restore when required. So imagine somebody, like you said, database disappears, something happens to it, there will be enough redundancy in place, and it is also due to regulations. They would have forced them to invest in tools and technologies, and essentially this is an old problem. This has been solved already across the world. Regulations for cybersecurity point of view are so strict, data point of view are so strict that companies will overinvest many times to make sure that everything works, even in case of systemic attacks. Again, centralization also has an advantage. If you turn the database off at night, tomorrow morning if you turn it back on, it is still there. So that is one thing which is always available. You can always restore it from some other data source and have redundant copies. Also, you will make sure that because of regulations, you will install all these security softwares which we have discussed just now, and most companies will be customers of these enterprise security tools. So I would say from some point of view, by using better IT practices in an enterprise, making sure you patch systems regularly, follow data practices, upgrade your talent pool also over a period of time, make sure you have the relevant softwares, make sure you're following the regulations to the T, and even regulators will evolve over a period of time and keep on making more and more stringent requirements. That has been happening. We have seen this happen not just in developed countries but even in India, where streams of regulations have made sure that you are updating your systems periodically. Although the threat might be less and less probable, but there is always a possibility that something can go wrong. There is never a complete guarantee that the system will work the way it's supposed to work. I mean, nobody has ever had to go back to pen and paper. But yeah, if you have a natural calamity like a cyber attack or something, or just natural calamity, then yeah, you might have to reboot your systems a little later. But things will be still be available. Now with redundancy of cloud technology available, you can have backups in multiple geographic locations. So if one system goes down in one part of the country, some other part of the country can restore from that data is there. So concurrent backups, concurrent systems running, different staffs monitoring these things, security apparatus already in place, talent already in place. So yeah, there's a lot of things can be done and are being done as part of the costs that the companies face.
Okay, there is another follow-up question and comment. Um, I don't know if you can throw some light on it. One of the things which scares me in India is that for most interaction with any government authority or bank or financial institution, people routinely ask for a copy of Aadhaar card as well as PAN card with your autograph on it. Okay, so God knows how many, and there is no way you can avoid it because almost everybody asks for it. What kind of threat do you think we are facing because of this as a country? And what can we do as an individual to protect ourselves?
So to be honest, I don't know if there is a vulnerability there or threat is there or somebody is already manipulating it. But from the Aadhaar point of view, you can lock your Aadhaar biometric authentication. So there is a way to lock your credentials. Nobody can use your biometric credentials without your permission. So there will be a password system where you have to unlock your biometric credentials through the Aadhaar app or some other online facility by logging into the Aadhaar database and telling them that now I want to authorize. And when your transaction is over, you can then again close it. So there is one way of
Okay.
doing it, because right now when you go for transactions with the government, sometimes you give a biometric data to authenticate the Aadhaar transaction that you are the person. So essentially, somebody cannot spoof your data. If somebody gets access to your fingerprints and creates some Mission Impossible style fingerprint copy, they won't be able to access the system, right? Because you've locked it. So most people don't know this system is available. So it's a good way to check if your Aadhaar system is locked or not, biometric is locked or not. But having the number itself may not do too much things for you. You might have the PAN number, Aadhaar number, you can find personal information. You can probably stage a physical attack, not a cyber attack with that information, because you require an OTP every time. So if you get access to somebody's mobile phone and all these credentials, then maybe a financial transaction can be made, but it's still remote because the financial institution will check a couple of times. So right now, some of these, even these systems of KYC also will evolve as somebody will exploit this vulnerability. For example, we used to hear of cases where debit cards were stolen by insiders of the banks and then withdrew money somewhere before midnight and after midnight, so they get both the days transaction limits for them. So these things were happening in the past, but now these things have become a little bit more secured. How secured we don't know, because nobody will reveal how vulnerable they are. Unless
Yeah.
you are inside the company, you will not know how badly or how well they are running this security apparatus. So it's a threat for sure, but there are some small ways to mitigate it, and we can have some false hope that we are able to protect ourselves.
Yeah. Thanks for your response.
Anybody else in the audience has a better answer, please give, because I'm not the authority on this. I'm a victim like all of you. Any questions from Zoom? We can go to the physical audience. Well, I hope not. So, yeah, people in the audience, please feel free to ask questions.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. My question was regarding the regulatory framework around such instances. So whether it's a bank or any financial service provider, if there is some hack or some such activity happens, and the consumer or the investor they somehow incur loss because of it, is there any legal implication on the financial service provider? What is the framework, regulatory framework around such instances to protect the investors or the consumers?
So your question is there a regulatory framework around financial cyber attacks happening against the user data, or if people lose their money because of an attack on a particular intermediary, what regulatory framework exists? So yeah, this has happened a lot in the past. So we have seen hacks happening on credit card companies. We have seen hacks happening on banks, and money was lost. In many cases, insurance covers for the damage, but there are legal fines and fees. So there is also a reporting standard which is provided that everybody has to compulsory report any hack or cybersecurity threat that they have faced or attack they have faced, even if there is no loss of capital. There is a reporting framework available, especially in developed markets. I'm not sure about India. I've not read India's reporting frameworks. But in developed markets, it's quite clear. If data loss has happened, if something cyber threat has happened, you have to report it. It's under even under SEC mandate to report it to investors. So everybody is aware of that. That has happened. Now, how they recover it? Basically, they have to make sure there are these consultants they hire to trace everything, find where the money went, get it back, involve the authorities. Just like any theft. So there will be a cybersecurity task force within the company, from the government, from the maybe if it's a US, it's the FBI or some other entity will come. In India, we will have a cyber task force who will trace everything, go through all your computers, databases, try to pinpoint the sources. So, a juris, I would say a regulatory framework is there, but a legal framework is only good enough till it's like a cop and robber. To catch somebody, find the evidence, build a case, and then take it to trial and make sure that the person is convicted. So prosecutors have to be on top of things to make sure that they convict or identify these actors who are attacking. They can be foreign nationals also. So you have to then work with diplomatic channels to get them to your shores to try them in your country. So a lot of frameworks are available, and insurance providers also are there in the market who will protect you for cyber insurance. So after every attack, the premiums on these policies go up. So it's a different industry altogether where you have to protect your data of users as well as your own internal data with different regulatory frameworks as per industry. So insurance will have their own framework, banking industry will have their own framework, capital markets will have their own framework. But with every attack, these regulations will modify. Somebody will realize that this was lacking in the previous regulatory framework and they will update it based on the data requirements of that particular attack. So nobody thought supply chain attacks were happening, but they would be happening for a long time. Then somebody this time figured out it was happening. So based on that, regulatory frameworks would have come up that this software will also have some liability on top of it. Every time you sign an agreement now, I don't know if it is actually happening, but I would ask them, how secure are you? What guarantee do you provide that your software will not be hacked? And can you provide a indemnity for that? Can you provide a liability sharing problem with that? So you can create such systems now. So there is definitely a regulatory framework, but it will keep on evolving. So maybe we read about something in the past and it has worked. Since then, the framework would have also evolved and new addendums would have come to that. Of course, you can. Go ahead.
So I just wanted to industry practice. These big US based tech companies, there is Google or Facebook, Microsoft. So for data security and cyber hacks and all, what is the standard practice? They tend to have their captive team, right, or more like outsourcing practice which they follow?
Standard practices in top software companies dealing with cyber attacks. So I'm relying on what I've read in the media. I've not worked in these companies, nor I have spoken with somebody in the cybersecurity team of these companies. The media report suggests that there are internal teams who will have some talent with them, but occasionally you will want to hire a specialist who will solve the problem in less time. Essentially, they will know 10 other people who they can tap into. Specialists will basically get the work done. So there is a mix of internal as well as external talent. So the Google's Aurora hack by Chinese state is actually a very good example of seeing how this actually turned out. So Google realized the hack was happening. They had security team. They actually hired all the best security people in the market in the next few months to make sure that everything was cleaned properly, all holes were patched or reasonably patched. So these are only known from the media. So most companies, so Microsoft also is very well documented in the media. They have a good security focus. In fact, there's a letter that Bill Gates wrote regarding making security as a primary point of designing software. So imagine a Microsoft vulnerability was traded in the black market for $2,000. It became as expensive as $1 million per vulnerability because they upped their security game so much. It's equally harder now to be able to access and find vulnerabilities in Microsoft products. So it's that expensive now to hack these large tech companies' products, but it is still possible. So I think they will keep updating, just like the regulatory system. This is like cat and mouse game. It continuously will continue to. It's Tom and Jerry. They will keep finding different ways to hate each other or hurt each other.
Raunak, thanks for this wonderful presentation. And actually, you scared all of us very
Silence is
much.
quite ominous.
Yeah. I just wanted to know, you mentioned that the entire business of this cybersecurity and the services is roughly $200 billion, right? So do you think that Indian IT companies, which we say that, I don't know, they are very aggressive as far as no IT systems are concerned, I mean, worldwide. So are there any Indian companies working on this field where the business pie is so large, and at the same time we are just competing with internal teams ke iska project le lo, iska le lo, but we are not working on this large pie which is available overseas? So do you think is there any Indian conglomerate working on the same?
The larger IT services piece, there is a security component in all managed services contracts. So it cannot be separate. You have to have that component in that. If you in the past were designing software for a client and you're working with them for 30 years, you are intimately aware of their internal networks, their updates over a period of time, and you have helped build that system. So their security aspect will be there. It cannot be denied. So managed services piece, again, 200 billion will include not include the entire managed services. That is a much larger piece. Security aspect of that will be part of that 200 billion, I'm supposing, and that will always be there. So they can provide you system integration with all these tools which we saw. The companies are selling all these software tools. These tools are not easy to implement. You cannot just like buy the product off the shelf and plug it into a system and install it and it works. You have to configure it to work with different network systems that you have, and then it will work, and then you monitor that system. So you need somebody who is trained. So IT services people will have teams who are trained on working with different softwares. Just like in the past, they were working with different ERP systems and they would implement them on the client's end. Same thing with security software systems that they will help implement on the client's end. Definitely, large conglomerates are already there. Large tech companies are already there. Large services companies are already there. From product point of view, I think we are lacking significantly. But there are a lot of consulting firms where intelligent hackers have basically become business owners and they have started their own consulting services, and they provide consulting, security testing, penetration testing, or revamping a network to make it more secure. They can provide all these services. So a lot of small people are already involved. So this is again the nature of the market. There will not be one company with dominant market share. The company we saw, the largest market cap company was Fortinet, which sells firewalls and security software. They were making a revenue of only $2 billion, $2.5 billion per year. It's a very small piece, but they're valued at $50 billion. So the hype is there in their expected growth in the future.
Thank you.
We take one last question. One second. It's not a question, it's a comment. Thanks, Raunak. It has been really scary. I agree. It has been really scary. Right, if there are no further questions, thank you all and apologies for scaring you. Good night. Everybody have some dinner. Thank you.
Whenever things got rough, I always remember what my father used to say.
Running a business does test a man, my son. There are ups and downs, glorious highs, and sometimes a low that leaves you feeling defeated.
The character of a man and the character of a business are not very different, are they?
Yes, but when the chips are down, we must stand up, dust ourselves off, and motor on.
Volatility. It's a funny thing. It makes you question yourself and wonder if you've made all the right decisions.
Sure, you can question some of your decisions, but stay steadfast on your course.
Dad always said, there are no shortcuts and no quick profits.
There are no free lunches, are there? There is only one
Right way.
At PPFAS, we think like Rahul and his father. That volatility is a fact of running a business. And buying equity shares is like owning a part of that business. We use value investing principles to manage your money. This means we invest in the right businesses at reasonable prices and for a longer term.
PPFAS Mutual Fund. There's only one right way. Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.
Mutual fund investments are subject to market risks. Read all scheme-related documents carefully.